Okay, here we are with Lynn Collins, one of the stars of Angel's Crest. I've been talking about the idea that, is this a really depressing movie? Because it's really about one of the most depressing things people can ever imagine, which is the death of a child.
I think this movie has the potential to be incredibly healing because it is about grief and loss. And in our society, sort of in particular, we don't necessarily have much ritual outside of funeral to sort of absorb what is loss and to have a full grieving process that can leave there room for healing in a perhaps more holistic way. So when I, look at its sadness, I think that that's reality. I know in my life I've lost, two siblings at different times and have...
You have?
Yes, and have dealt with grief at 2 different ages.
How you have to say a little bit about that.
Yeah, I had a sister who died of leukemia when I was 4 and a brother who died when I was 27. And it was very different processes, but at the same time what it did make me do was focus in on what I said at the beginning, which is what is the grieving process in America today or in Western culture today, and how can I use my experience with death and grieving in my work to further this sort of, not necessarily cause, but further this reality in a positive direction.
You're a Juilliard-trained actor.
Yeah.
You've played Ophelia. You've played Juliet in Romeo and Juliet. You've done classics, obviously.
Yeah.
You're going to be in one of next year's most hyped, biggest $250 million special effects movies. Yeah. John Carter, formerly John Carter of Mars.
Right.
So it's quite a career. And here you have the most difficult role in this ensemble. This mother who's lost custody of her little baby and who is an alcoholic and a very kind of bitter, unhappy person, it seems.
Yeah.
Can you talk about the challenge of playing Cindy?
Yeah, I have had problems with drugs and alcohol in my past, and so having sort of cleared that out of my life for a certain amount of time before starting a role like this, I was able to have a lot of perspective about alcohol and drug abuse and sort of how it affects, particularly the way I dealt with the aspect of having a child was different than how I dealt with the aspect of being an alcoholic. I sort of went through the adult relationships, the relationship that Cindy has with her mother, the relationship that she has with Mira's character, and of course the relationship that she has with her ex-lover or current lovers. So I went that way because I know there's one thing about alcoholism that it, destroys the very fibers of the relationships. And then I sort of accessed this. I did a play once about, this is so strange, I don't know, this keeps coming up. I did a play called A Very Common Procedure, and it was about a baby who had died as well. So I had all of this previous creative backup from this play that I sort of took the liberty of, to not be too precious with, your sort of line of work, and I opened it up again, and I found it to be such a small working experience to say, of course I can use my past to influence my present working, but huge to go, oh my God, look at this career. I can use it all. And it really was an epiphany playing Cindy, working on this character. I also think...
Was there something you did with, let's say, her walk, or when you saw the black nail polish, or...
Well, that's interesting that you say about both of those things. The first thing I did before, when I got the job, was just, in a very healthy way, lose as much weight as possible, because...
she doesn't eat.
She doesn't eat, she just drinks. And I thought that also I'm very big on the physicality of a character. What we, especially in this day and age, what we see is what we judge first. And I wanted the physicality of this character to be instantly judged as, oh, she's not well, she's not making right decisions, she's sick, there's something wrong. Which is, sort of what we worked with the makeup and with the nails, having the black nail polish that's not coming off. I mean, it was such a perfect touch with the hair and makeup. But, she, again, as you said, like, sort of bitter character, and to normally be playing, like, people of a sort of lightness, and not a lightness because I'm aware of the intensity of the work that I've done, but sort of a positive spin. With this one, it did feel like I was sort of working with Jungian shadow energy.
Oh, okay.
That it was this, like, sort of bring out the shadow aspect of self, and what is that like to work with. And Gabby was amazing that she knew sort of when to push me back into myself, so to speak.
When you have that history with alcohol that you've mentioned, do you see a reason people drink to excess like that as a way to cut people off, to not think about things, to protect yourself? Because you get all of these feelings with Cindy drinking the way she does.
Yeah.
That she's trying to just get that click to turn everything off.
Yeah, what is that movie? I think it's Paul Newman who says in Cat on a Hot Tin
exactly,
Roof.
Tennessee Williams,
who had a huge problem with alcohol, and he says in that play, Brick says, I drink till I get to the click. And that is something that I completely understand. And that click can be a click for many things. You can still feel when you're drunk, but you can also obliterate and really truly forget for that drunken period things that hurt you, that make you anxious, but as soon as you wake up from that the next morning, it intensifies all of those things. And that's something that I think that in Cindy, like, I really wanted to capture not just when she drank, but the torture of when a drinker, an alcoholic, is not drinking and not in a program or not working a system. That period of time of waking before the first drink, or like not drinking to maybe sort of have some clarity, but knowing you're going to drink, that obsession with the next one. I mean, I hope it comes across that that's what this woman was dealing with, this sort of anguish that it can lead to.
There's also sex that she uses. And at one point, she's referred to even by her mother as a slut.
Yes.
Somebody else in the store, when she doesn't have money for beer, says, "Oh, give her the money for the beer. You'll get a blowjob or something." And we've seen she's having an affair with her ex's brother.
Yeah.
How did you compute that into this damaged woman's whole being?
I know that enough about addiction through my own and through people around me, that most of the time it's not the actual habits, that it's something bigger, and you can channel it through alcoholism or drugs or sex or food. And she just happened to be channeling in also sex, which I can totally relate to. I mean, I think a lot of people can. Like, there's a certain, a vulnerability that you can be incredibly stimulating. But I don't know if that's the case with the sex that Cindy was having. I think it would probably be pretty muted by the alcohol.
The vulnerability, you mean?
Yeah. I don't think she had any of that. But perhaps, they did as a couple, maybe perhaps. You see those moments in the film where you see those small moments of intimacy that they have that shows that there must have certainly been vulnerability shared there, which is something that Thomas and I worked on so that you could see that if it wasn't for her blatant alcoholism and probably other drug addictions, which we don't really see, and her inability to stay committed to someone, then there would have been a whole different path